Staring contest. Yes, do you say something?
Why'd you come so early? That's what
I always come early, not quite this early, usually 3 or 4 days in advance, so that I can meet people and get in the cadence of the people that live here. Every place you go, it's a little bit different. The way they say hello, the way they study you first and then speak to you, and all these things. People have been very friendly so far. I haven't been here that long, but I'll give them a chance to run me out of town. No, but like I say, people speak different. Like in New York, it's about New York and Boston are the only two places in the country where you never have to answer any questions at all. They ask you a question, answer it for you, you know. Yeah, you read Skelton, huh? Yeah, you read Skelton, huh? Yeah, I saw you over the theater last night. Did you hear me up in the balcony? You didn't hear me up in the balcony, you know. And they do this, and then finally, after doing this for about 15 minutes, they say, "It was nice talking with you. See you later." Yes, dear.
Have you ever heard of Clemson before you?
Oh, certainly, yes, sure it is. We get all of our tiger food from here. And tiger's milk and stuff. Yes, I've heard of it. As a matter of fact, years ago with a medicine show I played through here. A medicine show, for those that don't know what it is, it's a platform out on an open field, and people come to see the show. It's free, and they give free entertainment, and then they sell their products. They call it television now.
Yeah. Did you know either Thomas Green Clemson or John C. Calhoun?
No, that's a little bit before my time, I think. I remember Lincoln and Jeff Davis. I knew those people. Yeah. I remember Calhoun when Amos and Andy, yeah. But not this Calhoun.
Mr. Skelton, you've had a very varied and illustrious career. What do you look back on? What are you most proud of?
I never look back. I've tried to figure out, I tell the students usually when I go to classes and things with them, there are thousands of yesterdays, there's one day, and maybe tomorrow, and it's what you do with that day. One of our greatest diseases that we have, even with the young people and the elderly people, is procrastination. It's the biggest disease in the world. Time is a glutton that eats up our life, you know. So what you have to do, learn to use time and not let time use you. So if I say look back at things, I would, if I had my life to live over, I would have lived it exactly the same way, made all the same mistakes and everything. If I hadn't, I wouldn't be standing here now, you know.
Well, let me rephrase the question.
All right.
What about your goals ahead? What do you want to accomplish? What's ahead of you?
The next breath. That's about it. I have a lot of things in the workings. I just finished a motion picture that I wrote the original story, the screenplay, and the music. It'll be out at Christmas time. It's called Christmas Dinner. It was produced by the Canadian government. And the way they do it, pretty good. They find someone who wants to produce the picture, and then they release it in the theaters in Canada and England, and for about a month, 2 months, with that fast booking thing. They get all their money back for it, then they sell it to the cable televisions. So it'll probably be on cable television in this country by December, by Christmas. Yeah. And there are people coming down from Ringling Brothers Circus. They've asked me to write a screenplay and, a stage play and music for a New York production called Clown Alley. I did a coloring book and also a special on television called Clown Alley once, and for some reason they think I'm capable of doing that. I keep busy with these things. I start my day off around 5:30 in the morning. You ask to answer your question, looking forward for goals. I start my day off after I shower and shave. The first thing I do, I write a love letter to Mrs. Skelton, whether I'm at home or away. Then I do a pencil sketch to illustrate something in the letter. Then I write 5 musical selections. I have over 18,000 musical selections that I've written, and you hear my music all day, but you didn't know it was mine because it's on Muzak, and I write for Muzak, and I've written 64 symphonies. London Philharmonic have recorded 4 of them. They're going to do some more. And then I write an outline for a short story every day. And then on Sunday, I take the best of the 7 stories and I write one complete story. That way I have 365 ideas and 52 short stories a year, which I myself publish them as anthology of short stories, children's books and things like that, which I sell through my mail order business. And then from that, I go out and do things like this now, because I'm pretty well finished up for the day. Go out and meet people and do my whatever I have to do. Then at night, around, if I'm not doing a performance, around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, I start painting. And I paint till 2 o'clock in the morning. And my oil paintings, I have 4 galleries in Honolulu. But I sell to the galleries for $20,000, the originals, and they get up to $75,000 for them. So it's pretty hard to ask what you're going to do in the future if I can just paint. And I think that everyone, I'm an inspiration for young people. They look at me and say, if he can do it, so can I. See?
What do you do in your spare time?
I fix my bicycle so I can make the next date. Yeah.
Of all of those talents that you spend your time doing, which do you prefer?
They're all fun. They're not. I've never done a day's work in my life. If it ever gets to be work, I do 2 hours out on that platform. When they call, they says, the first time I start playing the college, he says, well, can he do an act? And they says, oh yes. And they said, but they hang up. They come back and says, well, what kind of music will he need? He said, well, he has his own music. And they hung up again. This kept going on, and finally they says, well, can he do 45 minutes? And my wife said he bows that long. And so they call back again. Finally she says, look, I'll tell you what, if you'd like for him to be there, you meet him at the airport, take him to the hotel and put him in his room, tell him what you'd like for him to do. Then on the day of the show, you take him over to the theater, push him out on the stage, and figure a way getting him off. So I hope that answers that one. Yes.
Red, would you go back to your boyhood in Vincennes, Indiana?
Yeah.
You had a teacher that you spoke of lovingly by the name of Mr. Laswell.
Yes.
And I think one of the finest moments in radio I ever heard was when Mr. Laswell walked over and said to his students, I've been listening to you recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and it seems that it's becoming monotonous to you.
No, I'll tell you what that was. It was on television. And I was for 2 years getting that on the air. First they said if you do it, it's going to sound like you're preaching. And then they said, they kept cutting it for 2.5 years. Finally they told me that they didn't want that junk on television, that they wanted to reach the students. So I says, well, so it won't sound like I'm making this as a lecture or something. I'll say I'll remember my school teacher. I don't know him, Mr. Laswell, you know, but it was like a play, and it caught on. So then they came to me after fighting for 2 years getting it on the air. It was by accident it went on that time. They were doing the inaugural ball for Nixon as he went into office, and they called the station. They said, we're going to have a half hour of your time. So they said, well, that means the show will have to do a live show. We don't have anything in it for a half hour. What can we do? I said, well, I don't know. I'll do different guys making speeches. I didn't tell them it was going to be this, what's called. So I did the pledge, and there was over 400,000 phone calls at stations throughout the country. I received, they sold 2.5, they called me then and says, would you do this as a record? I says, no. If it wasn't interesting enough for you to do, I wouldn't stand up and make a monkey out of myself again. So they said, well, can we take it from the tape? I said, sure, I'll not do it for you though. I said, you guys are hypocrites, you know. But they did, they took it out, and it sold over 2 million records. And I received 2 gold records, I received 2 platinum records, and from the Strategic Air Corps, from the Army alone, they gave me a silver disc, a record from it. And it was something like 5.5 million that they sold of this thing, and I still get requests every day for it. But as far as Mr. Laswell, that was, You know, how could a little kid at 5, 6 years old remember what a man said when he said it's pretty hard to do, you know.
I taped it this past 4th of July.
Oh,
I still have it,
wonderful.
and it's a great moment for me.
Thank you. It is. It's very moving, I think. I think it's wonderful, and I'm very proud that I did it. The reason I wrote it is I woke up one morning and I saw in the newspaper that the kids over in the valley at some school in California had burned the flag. And so in my love letter to Mrs. Skelton, I said, isn't it a shame? I wonder if they know what the meaning of the pledge is. And so I wrote it out for her in a letter. So in the original book that she has of letters, she has, oh, there must be 600, 700 books with 1,600 pages each in each one of them. Of letters, yeah, it's in there.
Could I ask one other
Yes.
thing? Is there any possibility that you might consider changing your name to Orange Skelton?
Well, I'm going to shave it to skin pretty soon. Yeah, I used to have real bushy red hair. I look like a 30-cent cedar mop, you know. Yeah, I got a pink skull now, you know. Yeah. That's part of the age, I suppose. My granddaughter, they was running a movie on television. It was about the Ark, you know. And she says to me, she says, were you on Noah's Ark? And I says, no, honey, I wasn't on Noah's Ark. She said, how come you didn't drown?
What do you think about what's on television today?
I don't. No, I think it's fine. I think, you see, the whole thing has turned out to be dollars and cents. I think within 5 years, what you'll see on television, on what you call commercial television now, will be sports, news, and special events. As for entertainment, they won't be able to afford it because they can go out and shoot these things that are happening on. How could you stage what happened this morning in Egypt? So they'll have that in a picture. They'll make a whole thing out of it. And it doesn't matter. They've canceled all programs today as it is, and they're staying on this one subject because people are interested in the news. And eventually that's what it'll come to. I think then it will go into the cable television and to outdoor entertainment for people get in person again.
I saw you on HBO.
Yeah.
Did you watch HBO? I was wondering
No,
if you
I
watched
don't
some
have
of
it.
The younger comedians coming out.
Yeah.
They did some pretty blue stuff.
Well, most comedians now, they take shortcuts for thinking, young people. That's the only thing I can't understand about young comedians. They go out and they forget that when they walk out on stage, now when they got booked first, they had something that someone bought. But then they forget that when they finish their program that night, the next day they live with that sound all the time. All that next day. Now when they walk out on the stage again and the first joke doesn't get the same response as they remembered the night before, they forget. You must start all over each time because you're new and they have to recognize you and build into it. So they become frightened. They become victims of laughter. They must hear a laugh. They think a comedian, everything must be funny that comes out of their mouth. So they'll take these shortcuts. They'll use off-color material, use four-letter words, or insult somebody in the audience. My show, I don't have any of these things in it. I don't think anyone should have to pay money at a box office or invite into their home any jokes or any words that they can read on public walls.